You need to be the type of person, if you're going to run a sub 3 hour marathon, you need to be the type of person that says to yourself, I'm the type of person that when I get home at 10 o'clock at night, I still go for my training run. Mm-hmm. I'm the type of person that if I know I have a really busy day, I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get in my training. I'm the type of person that when it's snowing outside, I run in the snow. When you start to attach your identity to these things, then all of a sudden, when it's snowing, when you have to stay late at work, it's already taken care of. You've already told yourself what you're going to do. It's not about just identifying the obstacles. It's telling you that you are the type of person that overcomes the obstacles that stop other people from reaching their goals. And that's not who you are.
What confidence is has nothing to do with winning or the leaderboard. What confidence is knowing that you giving your best effort is enough.
Okay, Ben, welcome back.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, so wanted to talk to you something about that we've talked about a little bit before. I think we talked about it right after the new year, and that's goal setting. And sort of the first time we talked about it, I wanted to talk to you about it because I had the sense that you didn't like goals, or you didn't like goal set. Something about it I knew that you didn't like. And I think through that conversation, what I learned or what we learned was that it wasn't that you didn't like goals or goal setting. You didn't like the way most people did it. And so I wanted to kind of extend that conversation because I think it's a really good one. And it's also one that I know that you think about a lot, and you sort of, it sort of evolves every time you kind of dive back into it and see how you can make it a little bit better. And I know that that's the case now. So I wanted to just present you with an opportunity to walk us through, whatever new thinking you have in goals with a sort of like a concrete or a sort of a practical scenario that I think everybody would understand. And that scenario is just simply you have a member who comes to you and says, I want to run a sub 3 hour marathon, right?
Running a sub 3 minute marathon would be impressive.
That would be impressive. And that would be a much more difficult goal to achieve. So let's just start there. And then you can walk us through how maybe you would talk to that person, how you would work with that person to get from today to whatever it looks like.
Sure. So, kind of rehash what you just said. Yes, I'm a very goal-oriented person. I set big, audacious goals for myself, and I try to pursue them with massive action. I think what most people do, though, is they set themselves up for failure with goals. They have the goal of running your sub 3 hour marathon or deadlifting 500 pounds or getting below 10% body fat. And at the first sign of, I'm trying, but it's not working, it's like, oh, well, let's move on to the next thing, or this goal wasn't appropriate for me. And they're dashed. It's the reason that people's New Year's goals are gone within 14 to 21 days. So I'm a fan of goals if we set ourselves up for them the right way. And what most people are already forward thinking is like, he's going to talk about SMART goals. Yep. It's way beyond SMART goals. SMART goals is probably 10% of what is involved in this process. Okay. And this is the way I've the way I've more recently gone about setting goals for myself and talking about goals with my members. And it was really nicely encapsulated by a book called Rethinking Positive Thinking by a psychology professor from NYU. I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm going to try. But this is where this comes from.
But Rethinking Positive Thinking. That's
Rethinking Positive Thinking is the title of the book. And it's encapsulated very nicely in this acronym, W.H.O.O.P.I.E. And it's not the device that you use to track your calories or whatever. This is just, it's W.H.O.O.P.I.E. and it has a nice acronym, much like SMART does, but I believe it goes a lot deeper. Okay. I've taken that and kind of, I don't want to say added to but I've reformulated it into my own version a little bit based off what my interpretation of these things are, and added a little bit to change it from W.H.O.O.P.I.E. to W.H.O.O.P.I.E.
Okay.
So
added an I and an E.
That's right at the end. So you want to go work through them one at a time?
Let's go with W.
So the W and the H actually go together, and it's wishing and hoping.
Okay.
So I used to think that like you can't just wish and hope, you need to have a plan. It's not about, I want to be able to do 30 unbroken handstand push-ups. It's about what are you going to do every single day to take action. But nobody gets excited about the action they have to take every single day. Nobody gets excited about 5 times 6 unbroken. Like that's just not. So you need this wish and hope. You need this big grand vision, this thing that's going to get you up out of bed in the morning. And it's important to have that. You have to have this grand vision we're looking for.
Right. And in this case, it's the sub 3 hour marathon. Would that be?
Yeah, that's
Would that be the sort of the wish and the hope?
Yeah, I think it's run. The wish and hope could even be more loosely defined to that is like to kick ass, like set a PR marathon.
Gotcha.
Right. Just like to set a new record for myself in a marathon, which leads us to the next one, which is outcome. And outcome has 2 kind of pieces to that. One is let's not stop at the marathon PR. Like let's create this where SMART comes in. Let's make this outcome specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. It's got to be that. So that's where we're getting to that 3 hour. That's where we're getting to. We're going to do it in Boston in 2018. And it gets to like, I have now signed up for that marathon and I'm going to raise money through the Dana-Farber Institute. So it's like, we're really getting specific. Yep. The second part of the outcome is, what's it going to feel like? What is it going to feel like when you accomplish that goal? And now what you're doing is, this is Tony Robbins stuff, is you're tying emotion to an event. And that's when it becomes real. If you just kind of think about it like, it'd be great if I ran a sub 3 hour marathon. And you kind of, the next day you're like, yeah, that'd be really cool. But if you think about like, when I do that, I'm gonna be so happy. This is a lifelong goal I have. I want this more than anything else. I've worked so hard for this. I know that when I get this, I will have the respect and admiration of all my peers from my running club. And I know that I'll be the fastest guy from my college that's still running. And I know that everyone on Facebook will reach out. Literally, like, what is it that's driving you to get towards that goal? What's it going to feel like? And that's really important to tie the emotion to it.
Okay. And if I would assume that if you set that goal and you don't have that sort of, you can't find that emotional component to it, that's maybe not the right goal.
I would agree with that. Okay. Yeah. If you can't tie emotion to
you can't get really excited about the idea of accomplishing
so let's say your goal is to be to like look really good next summer.
Yep.
Okay, let's define that more specifically. Let's be like 8% body fat by June 1st. Now, if you can't say like, I want that because I know the pride I'm going to feel when I go into that beach in the bathing suit. If you can't feel that, it's probably not the right goal for you. From there, we go to the next O, which is the obstacles. What is holding you back? What is standing in your way? What could keep you from achieving that goal? Okay. So if your goal is to run a sub 3 hour marathon, it could be things like you work 60-hour work weeks. Yeah. It could be that you have young toddlers at home. It could be that you live in the Northeast and it's raining, right?
Or it's
snowing. Yeah, I said raining because it's raining right now. Or that's snowing because Boston, for whatever reason, they schedule it in the spring. Yeah. So everybody has to train through the winter. Right. So those are the obstacles. And it's really important to know those things that are going to come up in your way. From there, you get to the P. And you plan it. You create the process. What is the step-by-step procedure that's going to get you there? Well, if you want to run a sub 3 hour marathon, we know what that looks like. Yep. It looks like running, 20 to 30 miles a week, 4 or 5 days a week. And it's going to be something along the lines of, and you can vary this, but it's going to look something along the lines of every Tuesday and Thursday, you're going to run between 4 and 6 miles. Every Wednesday, you're going to do intervals of something between 6 and 10K. Every Saturday, you're going to run between 10 and 18 miles. Mondays and Fridays, you do CrossFit, and Sundays, you take off to hang with the family. If you hear that and you're like, what? I'm going to do what? Again, this might be a checkpoint for you. Like, that's not maybe the right goal for you. Maybe we're just trying to run a marathon. Yep. And in that case, it's like, let's take that and cut everything down in halves, right? And you could be able to run a marathon that way. And that's the right goal for you. As long as you can still be like, this is what's going to feel like when I get there.
Yeah. So kind of, if you get to that point, you kind of have to like work backwards to some degree in order to get back to the place where getting those obstacles doesn't mute the excitement.
So here's what a lot of people do is they wish and they hope, and they get to that place where they create the vision. It's gonna be like, it'd be so great if I could run a marathon someday. And it's not their fault that they stop there, because the human brain, psychology, it's wired to give you credit and a hormonal release for just thinking those thoughts, because we can't separate the subconscious from the conscious. Right. We actually get a feel good from just thinking about it.
Yeah.
If you talk about it at cocktail parties, like, I'm going to run a marathon, this is what I'm going to do. And you feel good. And so people stop there.
Yep.
We need to get way past that. And way you get past that is, let's create a specific SMART, attainable, relevant. Let's tie a feeling to it. What's holding you back? What's going to get in the way? Yeah, you're going to have to work some late nights. Yes, you're going to have to work and get up early some mornings. What do you do on those days, right? This is the plan. This is and do we have a step-by-step every day? You know what that's going to look like. That's where the W.H.O.P.I.E kind of ended, but I think it goes beyond that.
Okay.
I think what we need to do is, after you create that plan, is you have to then go back to those obstacles and say to yourself, when these things present themselves, I am the type of person that ... So this marathon thing, there's going to be times where, let's say you're the person that runs after work. There's going to be times that you are caught up at work for an hour, 2 hours later than you should have been, where instead of getting home at 6:30, you're getting home at 8:30. You need to be the type of person, if you're going to run a sub 3 hour marathon, you need to be the type of person that says to yourself, I'm the type of person that when I get home at 10 o'clock at night, I still go for my training run. I'm the type of person that if I know I have a really busy day, I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get in my training. I'm the type of person that when it's snowing outside, I run in the snow. When you start to attach your identity to these things, then all of a sudden, when it's snowing, when you have to stay late at work, it's already taken care of. You've already told yourself what you're going to do. It's not about just identifying the obstacles. It's telling you that you are the type of person that overcomes the obstacles that stop other people from reaching their goals. And that's not who you are.
Yep. And I imagine that there's also sort of you get points in some way to yourself when you prove that you are in fact the type of person
it becomes
who
a
runs
self-fulfilling prophecy,
exactly, yeah.
right? Even if you are not that person right now, if you can convince and just tell yourself, like, when it happens, because it's going to happen. When it happens, when, I had to stay up working on a project till 1 a.m, and I'm supposed to do my training runs at 5 a.m, I'm the type of person that still gets up to do those runs, because it's about the discipline. It's not about the marathon way down the road. It's about the daily discipline that we're trying to train in. And if you do that, rinse, wash, repeat, you are the sum of your habits. This is who you are. All of a sudden, you are the type of person that ...
Right.
Somebody going through the Navy SEALs, if they tell themselves, like, it's going to be hard, and man, I wonder how I'm going to react when it gets hard. No way will you make it through it.
Right.
If you're the type of person that says, when this gets hard, that's when I dig in the hardest. That's where I love the mental test. That's where I know I'm going to get blisters. I know I'm going to get chafing. I know I'm going to be, bloodshot eyes because I haven't slept in 72 hours. When that happens, that's when I know I can still thrive, not just survive.
Yeah. So this element, the sort of the I, or the however you want to say that, and the understanding of what obstacles are inevitably going to come up, feel really tied together for me. Like once you identify them, then you have to identify yourself as the person who overcomes those very specific obstacles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just the identity you're creating. It's not just about the obstacles. It's all about the plan.
Okay.
I'm the type of person that can follow the plan. I'm the type of person that believes, and essentially it's the same thing, right? We're saying that we can hold to the plan even though these things are tough.
Yeah, gotcha.
It's whether you talk about the obstacles or the plan. It's the same thing.
Right.
It's like, I'm the type of person that will continue to do my training runs even though I was up all night with my crying toddlers.
Right.
I'm the type of person that will stick to the plan because I am disciplined, and so on.
Okay. So we've got one more piece to it,
which is E.
E.
We can talk about this all we want, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
You have to execute, which is the E. And you have to execute and take massive action. The only thing that matters, and this is the problem with the goals, is that people talk about them. And right now, like, I feel good about it because I'm talking about goals.
Right.
Is that people give themselves credit for just the talking about it. One day I'm going to start my own business. I'm telling you, Patrick, one day I'll start my own business and I start to feel good. I have I'm going to have the life of an entrepreneur, which is I can see it. It's going to be great. I'm going to have this freedom, and I'm going to be my own boss. I'm going to be working on a business, and I'm going to be creating jobs for other people, and I'm going to be giving back. I'm going to be doing all these great things, building something magical and creative. But they never take the first step, let alone all the steps. The only thing that matters after all of this stuff, even if you do nothing else, even if you don't do the W.H.O.P.I.E with the
with W.H.O.P.I.E.
W.H.O.P.I.E, even if you never open a can of W.H.O.P.I.E, that's okay.
Yeah.
If you just take the massive action, you're going to get there.
Right.
The other stuff is kind of nice and puts things in nice packages and frameworks, and
it helps you point yourself in the right direction. But
absolutely, for sure. But if you didn't do any of that,
if you just wake up every day and just take action,
totally,
you'll move somewhere. You'll move in some direction.
The E is the thing that was missing from the other one. Is you have to take massive action, and there's no plan B, because a plan B is a plan to fail, and you have to do everything you have, pour everything into that, and just do it to the everything of your being. And this is what a lot of people do, is they're going to start a business. I'm not saying if you're going to start a business, it's quit your job and do this, because you should keep that secondary income, because it creates a feeder system for what you're actually trying to create. But what it means is when it becomes the late nights, it's not like, I'm tired, I'm not going to work on it tonight. You know, if you're writing a book, it's like, no, you have to write every single day. It's the action's the only thing that adds up to where you actually want to get to. So that's the acronym is W.H.O.P.I.E, which is WH, which is the wish and the hope. The O, the first one, is the objective or outcome. And then it's the obstacles that are holding you back. Create a plan. And then the identity. I am the type of person that ... And then execute.
I've only got one question, I think.
Rock and roll.
And it sort of popped in my head because of something that you and I talked about yesterday. You were sort of walking me through a little bit how you were thinking about training your games athletes over the course of the next year. And we don't have to go into what that meant, but the thing that was really interesting to me is the idea of like having this big goal, but then breaking it down into measurable and manageable sub goals, or whatever you want to call those sort of smaller goals. Where does that fit in with W.H.O.P.I.E? Is that part of the process? Is that the plan?
That's part of the process.
Okay,
of the plan.
So do you you have that big goal, you get through this, and then do you kind of go back and say, okay, if I want to run a 3 hour, I keep on saying 3 minute marathon, 3 hour marathon, do you then go back and say, okay, by January 1st, I want to be here, whatever the appropriate sort of measurements are?
And that's it. It's whatever the appropriate measurements are. So somebody that's trying to run a sub 3 hour marathon is going to be different from somebody that's just trying to complete one. But for someone with a 3 hour one, it'd be something along the lines of, I want my time trials to be at these times. I want my my ramp up to be at 10 miles by January, and then by February we're doing 14 miles, and then by March we're doing 18s. So you set all these little measurable goals along the way. And what I like to do with that is, I think it's really wear and tear on the psychology for everybody if every day is that. So what I'd like to do is put little checkpoints along the way that just kind of are motivating factors. If the goal is so far out that it's April for the marathon, or creating a business that you want to start in 4 or 5 years, it's really hard to kind of stay daily disciplined to that. So create little short-term objectives for yourself to get to, which is, if you're trying to start a business, it's, I want to put together my business plan by the turn of the year. And then it's, I want to talk to some potential investors, and I want to do the market research, and then I want to try to create a partnership with X, Y, and Z. If it's the marathon, it's by the turn of the year, I want to be able to do a 10K in this. I want to be able to do this many miles per week, and I want my interval trainings to be hitting these 800 repeats. And we're just kind of working towards those things, knowing full well the success of the overall mission does not live and die with each one of those things. They're just checkpoints along the way.
And they can be adjusted.
They can totally be adjusted. If you're flying from Boston to LA, it doesn't really matter if you're going over Chicago or Tacoma, right? You're just a little bit off course. You can still get there exactly on time, but it just lets you know where to make the adjustments.
Right. And I think the one important thing there is to make those sub goals something that's within your control, so that it's not, so that you can actually take actionable steps towards those.
Yeah. If each one of those sub goals are also SMART goals, and everything has to be within your control.
Yeah.
You know, it can't be the type of thing like, I want to get promoted.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you want to get promoted, like you could be working your tail off.
Yeah.
If you're in a bad organization, there's not gonna be the recognition from the top down. You're just gonna be spinning your wheels and you get really frustrated. If your goal is to be able to complete these 6 projects that you know are realistic, you know, in the smart sense, then we're good or attainable.
Right. Awesome. Love it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.